Blog Talk Radio.
Oh my God, that is so him. Did you see him? That's really Aseer, that guy right there. Yeah, that one with the feathers. Oh my God, isn't he so beautiful? He's just so dreamy, you know? And I really love being around him. He's absolutely fabulous. It's just that, every time I talk to him, he's just about this black talk, everything he says is just so black. It's just like black. I mean, I don't even, know what to say to him sometimes. It's like so black, and it's black people, and it's black stuff, and it's black hair, and it's black thing. I mean, it sometimes drives me crazy. Do you know what I mean, Sally? I mean, do you?
I talk that black song, that you out in white song. Can't walk, push it on, jacking like a beanstalk. Open up, let us in. We be about that dividend. We be about that major move. Ain't think about no extra friends. We want that black talk, and you out in white song. Can't walk, push it on, jacking like a beanstalk. Open up, let us in. We be about that dividend. We be about that major move. Ain't think about no extra friends.
Well, I huff and puff, blow the whole house down. Major sound, that's time for the down. People come from miles around. I make rich white folks start to frown, because they know when it tips it down. I'm a type of nigga, burn the whole shit down. Wear that crown on my head. Maybe maroon, maybe red, maybe Morocco, maybe fed. Most act live when they really dead. Beta Satan, they be waiting. Wanna eat your food before you get it on the plate end. The Satan's taking 8 cents. They oats on empty books. A society based on looks. Lucifer cooks the books, but I'm proof that by the door. Call me that noble Moor. Navigate that 7 seas. Crusaders all they need. Call me that black or pope. I sell these crackers dope. That's round them in like rope. Ask me if I like them, no. My quote's already dope. Before this rhyme was wrote. Simple across that capital moat. Cause I'm the one that's dope. I find a way to talk about that black talk every day. That's how I always say that I am here to say that black song, that you out in white song. Can't walk, push it on, jacking like a beanstalk. Open up, let us in. We be about that dividend. We be about that major move. Ain't think about no extra friends. We want that black song, that you out in white song. Can't walk, push it on, jacking like a beanstalk. Open up, let us in. We be about that dividend. We be about that major move. Ain't think about no extra friends. When I walk in the party, it be like who is showed it. I feel they eyes up on me, cause I'm the one they wanted. Because I got it, flown it. I teach it, take it, own it. I whip it, rip it, show it. Like Zora on a horse it. Just glamour, glitch and gloss it. Just waving, fly and floss it. I spend so much it's costly. Empress's gumbo sauce it. Niggas is mad cause I lost me. Another life, another time, get off me. Cause I'm that earthly cost it. Black Bonner be the boss it. White folk, they love feeding off me. But I be killing them softly. So if you bring that here, you better be very clear. The use of tears and empress of 10,000 years is here. Put black talk in your ear. That truth you might just fear.
I talk that black talk, that you out in white talk. Can't walk, push it talk, jacking like a beanstalk. Open up, let us in. We be about that dividend. We be about that major move. Ain't think about no extra friends. We want that black talk, that you out in white talk. Can't walk, push it talk, jacking like a beanstalk. Open up, let us in. We be about that dividend. We be about that major move. Ain't think about no extra friends.
Peace to all human families of the planet Earth. I am your host, Aseer the Duke of Tears. You're now tuned in again to another episode of Super Heru Radio. I am your host again, Aseer the Duke of Tears, with my co-host, Sagar Sar, as well as Selena, the Empress of 10,000 Years, and the little homie, More. We want to say peace to all the people who have been supporting us from day one, all the people in the chat, all the people in the call-in. Thank you for the support and the continuous coming through every week, every Monday and every other Friday. I definitely want to thank you for creating a venue to help me get a lot of this stuff that I've been doing in the house to all these years out of my head and into the so-called real world. So I definitely just want to give you thanks and praise and continuous ashes for that. So we're going to make the majority of this show pertaining to what the people may want to build on, what the people may want to go into. But before we kick it in, I just want to talk about little things here and there real quick. One, as you can tell, all of the stuff that's been going on recently dealing with this so-called death of this guy, one thing that we should look out for is a excursion or a war plan to basically deal with Pakistan. A couple of shows ago, I remember talking to everybody about, the whole purpose of why they want to get into Iran and do whatever. But as further analysis this week, as I was looking at the analysis this week, I think what's going to happen really on some other shit is that the United States is going to actually start toning down their rhetoric as it pertains to Iran, because if you notice, they haven't really been talking in Iran a lot. They kind of stopped talking about Iran right before the whole thing happened in Egypt. So what I feel is coming down the pike is that they're basically going to switch tails, and because now they want to get into Pakistan to destabilize, and they're going to use the fact that they found this so-called guy, Osama bin Laden, allegedly hiding out there, which, again, we know is bullshit, but you have to understand that the majority of the American people are really, think on the level of 5-year-old children. So most of the people who got caught up into that version of what happened, so that version as to what is happening is basically, again, that's all the game. That's not really what's really going on. What's really going on is that they trying to find another beachhead for them to be able to establish themselves. And so Iraq is old school. Now that they enter the new school season, they're basically thinking that instead of messing with Iran, what we need to do is basically lock down Pakistan, because Pakistan will be easier for them to basically set up an agenda for. Basically what they want to do is create this pipeline that they basically been setting up in Afghanistan since they invaded. Now we have to understand that under the Taliban, opium production came to a standstill. This was prior to the United States invasion of Afghanistan. Once the so-called Taliban took over the socialist or the nationalist government of Afghanistan, they were able to set up a situation where they were able to do their thing. And they shut down opium production. Once 2002 came in, they basically started their whole thing in Afghanistan. But the whole push in Afghanistan is really about creating a pipeline that basically goes through Afghanistan all the way through Pakistan to the Indian Ocean. Why? Because on the north side of Afghanistan, you have Russia. To the west, you have Azerbaijan. On the southeast, you have India. And in the southwest, you'll have Iran, and then China's in the east. So the only way that they could be able to flip their pipeline is to be able to basically pump it through Afghanistan, through Pakistan, which then will culminate into the Indian Ocean, where they'll be able to export the oil out. So essentially, in order for them to do that, they have to destabilize the Pakistan government. Now, the Pakistan government has been in effect for a long time, to the point where the Pakistani ISS, meaning the Intelligence Services Initiative, Pakistani ISI, is basically the main ones that have been, in a sense, looking at what's been happening in terms of the U.S. penetration into the country. So being that the U.S. had connections to the assassination of Benazir Bhutto, being that they already created a situation where they now have to basically backpedal and recertify their commitment to the so-called war on terror, what's basically been happening is that Pakistan has been making inroads with China. People don't know that Pakistan is the fourth largest army in the world. Okay? So in that, they also have kill switches and kill buttons for their nukes. So they also have nuclear weapons. So Pakistan's main enemy up until now has been India. However, since that war has been settled down for the past couple of years, the United States basically has been using Pakistan as a base. But what the United States has been doing is that it's been tooling up its al-Qaeda operatives and basically having them run sorties into Pakistan, which then gives the United States a reason to go into Pakistan and destabilize the country. So based on this, the United States has basically created a situation where every ally that it has, it turns against and turns into their enemy. So I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to be down with the United States in any other way or in any way, because what they're doing right now is that they're turning the enemies that they create, the puppets that they've created, into their enemies. But the difference is the Pakistani intelligence is very on point. They're actually, out of all the intelligence agencies, they're like maybe right behind Mossad in terms of like their ability to understand intel and be able to disseminate it to a better thing. So essentially what's going to happen is that they're going to try to push their way into Afghanistan, which will then use the impotence of the fact that we found Osama bin Laden here as a means to say that the Pakistani government is secretly harboring terrorists. And then what they'll do is they'll try to invade Pakistan and basically shut it down. Now, if they invade Pakistan formally, they'll do it through NATO. If they don't invade it formally, what they'll do is they'll deal with contractors like Blackwater Select and intelligence communities, which are intelligence agencies, intelligence solutions, which are the three main mercenary Jesuit-backed death squads that basically are under the jurisdiction of a guy named Eric Prince. Eric Prince is a Jesuit-trained Caucasian devil who has been killing people since the Cold War. You know what I mean? He comes from a long line of killers. You know what I'm saying? So him being in charge of Blackwater right now, you know, is basically part of the plan. So what they'll basically do is they'll use contractors basically to soften up the people to go in there and kill civilians and rape babies and all the stuff that they usually do. And then what they'll do is they send the troops in after as almost like a buffer, so that way, you know, the troops can feel like that they're actually doing something that is mandated by the United States government, which in actuality has nothing to do with the United States, but more to do with NATO. And NATO is the socialistic totalitarian military wing of the so-called New World Order, even though that doesn't really exist. So, case in point, you know, look out for all of this stuff going down. Blackwater also, if you didn't know, is training in your neighborhood, in a neighborhood near you, as fronting as police officers. The police officers that roll up on you, that don't have no ID, don't have no police car, no nothing, those are not policemen. Those are Blackwater operatives. And they're there basically to come in and basically figure out how to flip it on these people, flip it on us. But this is why they don't have no badges or nothing like that. This is why when they fuck with you, they have to call the black and white to come in after that to basically deal with the process. Again, because the United States government, under your man, so-called current president, has basically orientated and opened up the passageway for people who work for these satanic military industrial complex organizations to have free reign and come in and beat up niggas all day. So again, you can have your black president to thank for this. Because he's a piece of shit, this is how it basically runs. So, being that he could stand up there and tell that bald-faced lie about this nigga being killed, you have to understand that he is now more of a liability to us than anybody else. You understand what I'm saying? Because you still have black people that are still under the jurisdiction, meaning the spell of who and what this person represents. But really, this nigga ain't really here to do nothing but to dismantle the United States and basically make it better for us to basically turn into a greater slave class. So because him and his wife is down with this agenda, this is what the agenda is. So what we have to do, in a sense, is to safeguard ourselves from it by not getting too caught up emotionally and whatever may or may not happen with this nigga, because the verdict is still out on whether he's the Antichrist or not. So according to their system, they would have to basically put two in his head and see if he survives it the way that they did your man Kennedy, to see if he's the Antichrist that they all can agree upon to actually facilitate their movement out of this so-called reality, even though there's really no place they can go. You know what I'm saying? But it ain't gonna stop these niggas from trying. You know what I mean? So all we need not to do is get caught up in the hoopla with it. But essentially, you're going to hear them start talking about Afghanistan. And what they're going to do with Iran is they're going to pit Iran against Russia. They're basically going to start giving Iran subsidies and stuff like that. And in the process of that, they want to hopefully soften up Iran's worldview of the United States, so that way Iran can start hooking up with the United States and they're shitting on Russia. Because ultimately, everything that these people are doing is to isolate China. The whole thing in the whole thing in China right now is all about isolating China. Everything that's happening in Africa right now, all of these so-called rebels that are fighting and going against each other, whatever, these rebels are not really African rebels. These are rebels that are funded by the United States intelligence agencies, as well as British intelligence through MI6, MI5, as well as British intelligence, MI5, MI6, who are basically going into these African places, these African regions, and basically creating situations where people can basically get convoluted and not realize what's really going on. And what's really going on is they want to destabilize this whole situation to keep Japan from coming up. Keep China from coming up. Japan was a country that was neutral to a degree, and that they were trying to basically come away from them as they hooked up with the Black Dragon Society, which is why they hit Japan with the okie doke, with that whole earthquake / tsunami / nuclear event. So this is the second time in however many years that the United States has been responsible for some type of nuclear destruction going on in Japan. That's because Japan basically were the ones who the United States wanted to use to pit against China. The Japanese didn't want to do that based on the armistice agreement that China and Japan made after the war between China and Japan during the so-called, right before the Cold War started between the United States and Soviet Union. So in this, the United States basically is trying to isolate every aspect that China has, so that way China will be forced to have to trade on Russia. That's the idea. The goal is to get China to not have any other way to get resources for its country other than tapping into Russia's resource, which will then force Russia to attack China, which will then catch Russia and China up into a big fight. And this way, the United States and Britain think that they could just rock. Now, that's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? For a couple of reasons, but to keep it real, it's really not going to happen for the fact that that the karma of the United States has basically reached its epic level. So there's not really so much they're going to be able to do to protect themselves from it. So again, as a means of foreign policy, the United States foreign policy is to destabilize government so that way the United States will always be on top. The United States is about to be turned into a third world country based upon the same thing, so they're not really going to have a means to be able to protect themselves from what's coming down the pipe. So the companies that are in charge of this whole destabilization thing is Unocal, Halliburton, Monsanto, Viacom, and a private company owned by the Bushes in it. I can't think of it right now. Just coincidentally, 90% of all U.S. bases around the world stand on the precipice of whatever nation or country that they exist in natural resources. So that means every military base that's around the world, the United States has every natural resource center that exists in the world, the United States have a military base right there on top of it. You understand? Now, do the knowledge to that. 90% of all U.S. bases stand on or around the natural resources of whatever country they exist in. 95% of the world's natural resources then are under the control of the United States so-called capitalist government. So you have to understand that the run to make this crude oil thing work is really a last-ditch effort to keep the Piscean age in effect. Why? Because the Industrial Revolution was cemented by the acquisition of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, anybody who builds a society on fossil fuels is an asshole. Why? Because fossil fuels are usually dependent upon the ability to extract them out of the earth. So if you don't have the ability to extract these things out of the earth, and you're setting your entire economy based upon them, then what happens is you are automatically at a deficiency. And this is Western society as a whole. Western society of a whole functions on fossil fuels. Therefore, the renewable energy that they talk about that they want to have, that's really just a ruse too. They don't really want to use none of that shit. They want to use the shit that they've been using because, remember, reptilian DNA is intrinsically stagnant. Reptilian DNA does not evolve. And reptilian DNA is anybody who's functioning from the reptilian section of their brain so much that the higher capacities, the higher functionaries of the brain are basically inhibited by the reptilian aspect. So those people who feel that they can't move ahead without fucking somebody over, that's somebody who's caught up in the reptilian section of their brain and they cannot evolve past that. So therefore, when we talk about reptilians, we're not necessarily talking about a reptilian race all the time. We're talking about human beings who have been inundated and have been brainwashed to believe that the only function of their brain is sex, fighting, running, or acquisition. That's the reptilian section of the brain. That's what works. So when they say that people are reptilian, what they're saying is that human beings are functioning solely from the reptilian section of the brain, which is the lower hemisphere of the brain, which is the part of the hemisphere that does not function in the higher reality. Buddy? You came from David's house? Yeah. That's great, buddy. I got your bath ready for you. It's ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, it's pretty much a wrap. That's good. Talked about the string. So this is what's going on. You know what I mean? It's pretty much a wrap for the whole thing altogether. So like I said, Pakistan is next. The thing is, when you break into Pakistan, what's going to happen is China have to step up. Why? Because Pakistan and China have a non-aggression treaty between each other. So if you attack them, you're attacking China. So the most likely what will happen is that the United States basically pushes into Pakistan. What you'll see is North Korea will come back in the news. And they'll do something to go beyond their borders into South Korea, which is the United States occupied, which then will force the United States to do something in the Sudan. The whole thing about everything in Africa that's going on with the United States is about kicking the Chinese out. You understand? Nothing in Africa is about the Africans. Africa or Africans have no export process in their countries. The only country that has an import-export thing right now in Africa is the Central African Republic, and that technically is not even a country. That's more a consortium of African states who agree that they're going to basically use money as a means to protect themselves from the NWO. So in the Central African Republic, you have, like, cities under domes and shit. It's very, very, like, they're reconstituting dinosaurs. They're doing, like, crazy shit over there. That's why you don't never hear about the Central African Republic. But all of the genocide and all that stuff that happened in, let's say, Darfur, that had nothing to do with the Africans. The Darfur situation was all about getting the Chinese out. Why? Because the Sudan is the third largest producer of oil and exports for the Chinese government. So you have to do the knowledge. It's good. So you got to understand that essentially this is really about the destabilization of the whole South Pacific region itself. So we have to understand that whenever you hear them use terms like foreign policy is all about conquering. It's all about domestic hostile takeover. So we as original people, when we get into what we should do and how this affects us, this doesn't necessarily affect us in the traditional sense of like, oh, these niggas, the Chinese are going to come and bomb us. That's not really the case because all governments in the world know that the people of the United States are not with the government of the United States. The other nations in the world know that. But you have a bunch of other nations that's basically following the same suit of the United States, so their people are in the same boat that we are. You understand? So, specifically, Japan was attacked so that way it could set back the New World Order opposition, because Japan was one of the main proponents of the Black Dragon Society that came out and said that they were going to pay down everything. So, this is not, now, in me talking about all this shit, I'm not bigging China up. Like, I don't want you to think like China is dope. I don't want you to think like Russia is dope. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying that they are basically like the enemy, right? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. You know what I'm saying? So it's some shit like that. Like, you got to look at it more in a universal aspect, because sometimes we as metaphysically inconscious people, we do the knowledge, and what happens is we think that, you know, we have to be absolute about certain things. However, when you're dealing with war, the only aspect of war that's absolute is the outcome. So with war, you have to sometimes do the knowledge to what strategically you can get away with and what strategically you're going to have to let ride. You know what I'm saying? So as we are dealing with a strategic aspect of this whole thing, you have to understand that we are at the precipice, because we are the only ones in the country that really understand what the hell is going on with this shit, man. Because we're not caught up in either side. Like, I don't care if the United States destroys itself. That has nothing to do with me. You see what I'm saying? Like, I was here, my people were here before America, we'll be here after it. You understand what I'm saying? So really, this doesn't have anything to do with us other than a material, physical outcome. Spiritually, we've already won. We've already created the doorway, the passageway for us to be able to greet each other on the other side of this reality. We've already done that. And the evidence of that is the vibratory raising in our consciousness. You understand? So we don't have to really worry about so much stuff that a lot of material-orientated people have to worry about. If anything, what we need to do is just not get so subtly caught up in what the enemy is projecting as a reality for itself. You have to understand, for this dude to go on TV and bold-faced lie to everyone in the fucking world that this nigga is dead, you have to understand that the karmic, well, I don't really believe in karma. I would say the ma'at factor in it with this dude has just reached, like, has just gone off the Richter. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is continuously pushing these white people's agenda. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like he's creating a national referendum against police brutality. It's not like he's creating a national referendum against the miseducation of original people. It's not like he's trying to bring up a national referendum to deal with the fact that we as indigenous, aboriginal, autochthon people do not fall under the jurisdiction of the United States. He ain't trying to do none of that shit. You understand? He's too busy trying to raise money for to get elected again. But again, to get elected to what? You see, so those of us who are in the mainstream and those of us who have a vested interest in whatever is going on with this so-called fictitious government, you have to understand, those of us who are dealing with that are already dead. They're already gone. If you're focusing on that aspect of this game, then you're already dead. Not because I say so, but because your masters in the government have already counted you as a dead entity. You know what I'm saying? So we have to deal with the living and those of us that want to be here. So because Afghanistan is already set up to be a beachhead for these people into Afghanistan, you have to understand, too, that Pakistan has the fourth largest army in the world. You understand? So these niggas is trying to go to them and start banging on them, but to keep it real with you, these are the niggas who set up their army for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't even really have any alternative. You know what I mean? Like, this is it for them. This is really it. So all we can do is not get caught up in the physical representation of what's going on. We have to get more focused in on the metaphysical aspect of it, because that's really the only part that we're really here to work out. Because when all the physical when all the physical stuff goes down, it's going to be those metaphysically inclined who are going to be the only ones to be able to make sense of all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot create a new society out of this one if you don't know how this one fell victim and who they fell victim to and why. The Moors, the original people, we're the metaphysical community, we're the only ones that can give that. Nobody else in this world can give that, because everybody, you know what I'm saying? So we, as the record keepers or the gatekeepers of this reality, as it falls down to, once this U.S. government is absorbed into the devil Antichrist government, there has to be a real representation of what and who that is. You see what I'm saying? In order to go along with the prophecy. Because the prophecy in Revelation basically says that there will be 1,000 years for the rule, and as that's ruling, there will be 2,000 years for Christ, or those who represent the Christ to rule. So that talks about two different kingdoms. One for those people who want to order their new world to reflect them, or those people who feel that their new world needs to be ordered, and therefore you'll have a new world order for you. You know what I mean? Like, this is beyond like a color thing. This is even beyond a status or cultural thing. This is about a God-devil thing. You know what I mean? That has now reached the level where you can't even front anymore and act like this shit is not here. You know? So we got to really do the knowledge, and we got to focus on that which is the most important. So like I said, Pakistan got nukes. India got nukes. You know what I'm saying? So you want to go mess with these dudes, but their intelligence agency is right under the Mossad, so they're pretty good. But this is also why the United States worked through people like George Clooney and the rest of these Hollywood assholes to create situations where they could go into places like the Sudan and push the envelope so that way the Sudan can be broken into two countries, which it is right now. You're going to have the North Sudan and the South Sudan. But the whole purpose of this was to destabilize the Chinese, because the Chinese had put money into building up the infrastructure of Sudan. You know what I'm saying? So all the wars that will be going on in Africa are really destabilization wars between the United States trying to kick the Chinese out. You understand? This has nothing to do with what they're telling us on TV. Nothing to do with that. The dude who calls himself the president now is a bold-faced goddamn liar. He is a liar. With every breath this nigga can muster, he's lying. You understand? They just attributed the cholera outbreak that happened in Haiti. Now remember, they cured cholera in the late 60s. So how cholera come back? The cholera outbreak that they found, basically they traced back to the Red Cross. The Red Cross is out there giving niggas cholera in Haiti. And who is in charge of the Red Cross, or who is the main facilitator between the Red Cross and the Haitian people at the time? The Bush-Clinton initiative. You see? Them Haitians should be ashamed of themselves for even letting them niggas into their country. Y'all still letting these white people into your country after they stealing all of these babies? Me and the Queen show how real it is. Me and the Queen, after the first Haitian earthquake, went to the local government out here, whatever, and worked to try to petition to adopt Haitian children. They shut us down early. But we was in there with like 5 or 6 different white people. We was the only black people in there, in the adoption agency or whatever. And all of these white people's in there. They denied us, but then when we leaving, 2 of the white families that came out was like, oh, they approved us and shit. That's how I know. That's how I know. You don't never see no black people adopting no damn white kids. You ain't never see no story about that on TV. We grew up watching, Webster and different strokes.
But after seeing what I said, let them give me a white baby. I'm going to name him Lucifer and teach him all more history and science and inject him back into his white fucking community.
That's right.
Teach them niggas about the fuck is real.
Let him get a white baby.
So Lucifer is rising.
Right, Lucifer Rising.
Lucifer Rising.
Right? And then we train him to go get a little white girl. We name her Lilith, and we send them back to their people and re-educate them, because that's what they need. They need that. That's what they're doing to our kids right now. You have to understand that they are in letting these black kids come into their families, because these black kids are going to be used as organ farms, organ donating, harvesting for these people after a certain time. And we think it's all good. This is why you don't ever see no white people adopting no black babies. We don't do that. We don't want to do that. No. All we do is nanny their babies. You don't ever see no black people adopting no white babies. You'll see a bunch of black people nannying white babies and shit like that, because they trying to get their money. But to actually take a white kid home and be like, hey, this is my son, I'm raising this nigga, you don't really see that shit other than the movies. The only time you used to really see that is back in the days in them stories like Blast of the Mohicans and shit, when you would have white people who were slaves who escaped the plantation and basically ran amongst the wild redmen and basically became part of that, like in Dances with Wolves and Last of the Mohicans and shit. But you don't really see that like that. You know? And this is my problem. You know what I mean? This is really not cool. You have white people eating black children, eating all of that, and all I see is these black inclusionists, these black integrationists that are all down with it. Now, I don't necessarily think that every white person that I see or every Caucasian person I see is eating a baby. I'm not that naive to believe that, you know, everybody in a sense is down with it or everybody's the devil in the same way. I don't deal with those type of generalizations. I do know, though, that all snakes ain't poisonous, but a snake is still a damn snake. You know what I'm saying? And that goes for black original people, too. Because they be the main ones to foment this whole shit for these crackers. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta just be real about where we're at. The same thing. So, again, look for these people to invade Pakistan. Look for China to do something to South Korea, through North Korea. Look for China to basically do something drastic in terms of the financial aspect of the United States in retaliation for what they're doing. Because, see, on Pakistani TV, they're going in on the United States right now. They're telling them people, like, yo, the United States is trying to invade our country. And they're using this fact that Bin Laden, who's been dead since, some people say this nigga been dead since 99. You know what I'm saying? I would be more modest to say he's been dead since 2002. But, hey, I could be wrong. You know what I mean? So, anything else dealing with this subject we should get into? I think that's it with that. Like I said, the reason why you know they're going to flip this pipeline, again, is because Russia is to the north, right? Azerbaijan, right, is to the west. India is to the southeast. Iran is to the southwest. China is in the east. So the only way that they could be able to freak their pipeline how they want is to be able to destabilize Pakistan, use Pakistan as the beachfront, or the beachhead, use Afghanistan as the beachhead that they've been softening up since 91. These niggas had this shit planned from 91. And it's just coming to fruition now. So they want to be able to go in from Afghanistan into Islamabad, where kind of they found this dude, and then run what they call sorties into Pakistan, and then use the fact that this dude, that their puppet was found there, and they'll use him as a means to justify, we got to go into there to get rid of Al Qaeda. But due to knowledge, Al Qaeda in Libya is working with the United States to destabilize Gaddafi. But Al Qaeda in Pakistan is a problem. How can these Al Qaeda niggas be cool, but then these Al Qaeda niggas not be cool when they all supposedly in the same shit? And I curse because it's really, really disgusting. It's sick. Look for them also that when they finally do invade Morocco, because that's coming too. When they finally do invade Morocco, that's when they're going to try to start dealing with Moors and start setting Moors up over here. Remember I said it, man. Because this shit is serious. We could get it to a call real quick. I'll close it. Yeah, I'm about to be. You can. Peace. You want Super Heavy Radio?
Peace.
Peace. Peace, Queen.
Peace, King. How are you?
Hey, how are you, Queen? Thanks for calling in, man. I'm well. How are you?
All is well. This is Legacy News from the chat room.
All right.
Yes, we've been listening.
How you doing, Queen? Good to hear from you.
Yes, it's a lot of stuff going on out here, but I have to let you know that listening to your show is really helping us deal with this because we know we're not crazy. You know.
Thank you, Queen. That's what we're here to do. Just let you know that you're not crazy. What you see is happening.
Exactly. But, you know, I was saying in the chat room, it's time for us to start moving south. You know, maybe South America for a few years and then come back.
I agree. That's why we did it. Like, when the Spirit told us, we came out here and did a lecture, and then I left word that if anything opened up, let us know. So spirit-wise, it opened up right when we needed to move from the place that we was in because the brother was losing his apartment. The one who we was renting from was losing the property. So right when he lost it, that's when I got a call from the brother down here. It was like, oh, you could come down here, no problem, no credit check, no nothing. We was out like a month later. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's getting ready to go down. It seems like all the malls I know, they're pretty much losing all their stuff, losing their houses, their cars. I'm like, that's the fine. It's time to go. Leave this alone. We don't need it anymore.
Exactly. And it's also the city thing. The whole city vibration is becoming very, very heavy in terms of, like, potential targets and all that stuff dealing with the government. Like, the only people killing everybody is the government. It ain't the regular people. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We were just talking about that. I'm sitting here with Wise Cobra. We was just talking about how we out here in the country right now. So we're not really getting the whole the craziness, but we're recognizing something's getting ready to go down, especially with this little war on Islam they're starting.
Yeah, you peeps them tripping with this shit, right? And then the people that we would have, you would think that would be on our side to really be about, you know, in a sense, safeguarding people from potentially what's coming with this thing. These people are trying to hook up with the Scientologists. Now, this is not everybody in the Nation of Islam. This is just the higher levels, or let's say the head ministry of this shit. These niggas is trying to act like the Scientologist shit is the way to go. Like they've integrated the movement where they have Caucasian people in there with them now. Because they moved away from what Elijah Muhammad was talking about. And are now on some inclusive, like we all got to work together with the white man shit.
Well, only a handful is going to be saved. And not even a handful. You're only going to be able to count a few fingers. So
that's right.
It up. You know, you're going to have to leave a whole lot of people behind. But those of us who know what's going on, we have to start creating our own communities.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. How would you say, as a queen yourself that's in the movement, you know what I mean, in the real movement, what would be some of your suggestions, or what would be a suggestion that you had to be able to create a community that's somewhat autonomous?
Well, right now we're actually working on getting some finance. You know, that's what I deal with, is getting finance, getting some startup capital, and then just moving out of the area. I wouldn't even suggest trying to start a store or build a community, because they're just going to tear it down or drop a bomb on it. Just move out, get the money, get out of here, have some children, create your own little environment somewhere else, raise your children to a point where they can function on their own, and then come back and deal with the masses of the people. That's what I say.
I think that's a great idea. I think that that's more real than working to create something with people who you really, I mean, if we weren't conscious, I mean, I think about it too. Like sometimes, you know, consciousness will sometimes have you around people that if y'all weren't conscious, you really wouldn't be fucking with anyway.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like your basis of your relationship is the fact that you're conscious, but that's not really a basis of relationship or even friendship. You know what I mean? So it's like you have a lot of people who want to create communities and stuff like that, but some of the people you want to create the community with, I wouldn't really fuck with if they was conscious or not.
You know, we getting
sabotaged.
So, we getting sabotaged by our own people. We over here getting sabotaged. We're trying to build some finance for our people, and we getting sabotaged by our own people, put in some critical situations, and it doesn't make any sense. That's how I know it's a spiritual thing. Because there is no way somebody can offer you a whole lot of money for whatever you want to do, whatever project you have, and then you turn around and try to mess that person up. That doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. That's that reptilian brain.
Exactly. That's that reptilian brain manifesting and trying to act like it's in a higher consciousness. And it's not. You know, and a lot of our people, I don't want to say most because I don't like to be general or want to be general, but a lot of our people are focusing on that level. But the funny thing is that I'm finding that a lot of the so-called people who we as conscious people would consider 85 are a lot more ready to do certain things more than some of the conscious people are.
Yeah.
A lot of conscious people just seem like they just want to keep talking.
They scared. I mean, we out here on the front line, so, you know, we've been paying a lot of attention to what you guys are doing, and we would love to help you get some finance to do what you need to do, and we have the avenues to make it happen.
Hey, I need all the help I could get. I won't even front. Like, I need help. You know what I'm saying? Because up until this time, like I said, it's just been really a thing and almost having to work with the people, but at the same time protect yourself from them, too. And I'm tired of that aspect of the movement. I'm ready to move into the next part of it where we're actually funding things and putting out things that have a definite result as opposed to just, you know, debating on or talking about things that we've already kind of come to a consensus on.
It's not going to work. And we need to start starting international companies. You know, instead of using LLCs here, we need to get international business companies in other countries like Panama, Brazil, you know, even Canada. We just really need to start doing business outside of the U.S. because they're bankrupt. They don't have any money. And the rest of the world knows that. Finance. If you don't have cash, you don't have anything. And we can get you the cash if you need it. You know, you have some things that you need to do. So we're definitely going to be calling you. And anybody else that's listening, you know, I'm in the chat room because that's what we're doing.
Yes, please. You could blast your, you know, if you have a contact information that people need to highlight you about it, you could definitely, please, don't even hesitate. Give them that information.
Okay.
I need to know.
Yes. Well, I don't want to hold you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Queen. It's definitely been a pleasure. Please put your information in the chat for the people. And you can email me directly at houseofl@hotmail.com. L is spelled E-L. And whenever, just let me know.
Okay, most definitely. And sending my love to you and the Empress and the little king.
Thank you, Queen. Thank you so much. You and yours, your family, stay blessed. And inshallah, thank you for that wisdom, too. I think that's a great idea.
No problem.
We'll build soon.
All right, peace and love.
Peace. Peace. You on Superhero Radio? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, King?
Yeah.
Hey, I can hear you.
Yo, you can hear me?
I can hear you, brother. How you doing, man?
Yo, peace. What's up, Aseer? This is your homie Jason, man, down here in Alabama.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Hey, everything. Man, I'm great, man. Everything is all good. It's been like a minute since I hollered at you, but kind of surprised I got through tonight, man. Yeah.
You did, bro.
You know I'm always listening. But yeah, man. Hopefully everything is good with you and your family, man. I guess I hate to beat a dead horse again, but just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying earlier, you know, with the whole Manhattan, you know what I'm saying, thing, whatever they want to call it. I noticed that they officially announced that, you know, they had killed him or whatever on May the 1st. But, you know, it could could have been, April the 30th or anywhere, within that little time frame, because who knows when they officially did whatever they had to do and from the time in which they announced it. But one thing I noticed about on April 30th, I was just chilling at the crib, right, and, I just noticed there was like a whole lot of horror flicks coming on, like, primetime, premium channels like, Nightmare on Elm Street, Candyman, and I was like, well, what's going on? It's not like Friday the 13th or nothing like that. So I did the knowledge to the date April 30th, and like it was like some interesting things that I peeped. One was like April 30th, 1492. That's when they gave your man Columbus his little thing to
mandate
exploration.
That's right.
1789. That's when George Washington, took his first oath as like the president of whatever the United States. 1945. That's when Hitler and his woman committed suicide. You know what I'm saying?
Suicide, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly, right? But more importantly, like what I saw in 1966, that's when they established the Church of Satan. You know what I'm saying? So all these things like coincided, on that particular date, and I'm like, now they're gonna come out and say that, hey, we just eliminated the number one bad guy. So, I guess. and buried him in the sea and shit, right?
Yeah.
But
exactly.
I guess.
Right. And the funny thing about that, G, he's a Pisces, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so them throwing him in the water was a whole zodiac thing that invoked the whole Poseidon. Poseidon. Because when you look at pictures of Poseidon, he always has the beard. You know what I mean? And he has like the big bushy hair and all that. That's this nigga old Thomas. But the way that I heard it, or the way that I've been doing it now to it, is that after they killed him in 2002, they put his body on ice. And they just cryogenically froze the shit. And then held it on ice for a certain time. Because in 2005, Madeleine Albright came out on TV and said that she thinks that bin Laden is basically on ice until they need him for a political situation. This is in public record. Like you could if you Google Madeleine Albright says Obama's on ice, it'll give you the newspaper clipping and all that where she said all that shit in 2005.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So what I love about this, though, is that the minute that shit went down, the minute that he came on TV, and those of us that is in the Christ consciousness went down, and this nigga said that he killed the dude, it's like all of us at the same time was like, oh, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, no matter where we was at on the planet, we all looked at it, it was like, oh, this nigga lying.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Which negated the whole op. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know. I peeped his face and his expressions, and I was like, I mean, come on, he's an actor. He's reading something off a teleprompter or whatever. But they say
he's wicked with the teleprompter. They said that he's like a wizard with that shit. Like he's next level with reading other people's words. Like so he's excellent at that. You know,
Ronald Reagan, Kennedy,
It's like Reagan. They say he's with it too.
Yeah.
And this dude, he want to be the new black Reagan now. You know what I mean? So, it wouldn't surprise me though too if at this period they would come out with some new type of crack. Being that they're evoking the whole 80s energy, I'm feeling like they want to come out with some type of new, like, crack or drug or some shit to get everybody, like, strung out. But then part of me feels like that's hip-hop.
Yo, but what's the thing with, like, Soulja Boy? Like them trying, I guess, boost him up as, like, the next pop. Because, he's got this mixtape out, like, called Juice. And it's like they're going to do a reenactment of the shit. And he's supposed to be, like, Bishop or some shit. Like you heard about that?
He's supposed to be playing Tupac's character. Bishop, who's playing in the Juice thing. But see, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, instead of doing something totally new, you see what I'm saying? We keep doing the same. And the excuse that these people in that industry give us is that, well, there's only but so much we could do, and at least we're on the screen and we could do something. But the thing about it is, like if you always playing the same drug dealer you know, basketball star, football star, ex-con, slash drug dealer, slash wannabe rapper, you know what I mean, pimp, slash homosexual. You see what I'm saying? That means that this is the role that you are potentially putting out there that is the only role that we can play. So you have all of these brothers with all of these millions of dollars. You ask yourself, well, why don't they create their own version of what Hollywood is? Instead of creating a bunch of different production companies, why not put all your money into creating one big studio and then everybody can, you know, create what they want? They're not going to do that because they can't do that because if they try, they'll pull what they pulled on what's his name, Jay Prince, Suge Knight, and Danny Dash.
Suge Knight and Irv Gotti
and Irv Gotti and them. You see what I'm saying? Because these dudes off the rip chose to take whatever they gave them. You see? But if they'd have maintained their own and took a little bit longer to get there in their own vein, you see what I'm saying? They would have more leverage to do what they want. Because if you notice, they don't really do it. They don't really treat these niggas the same way that they treat the African actors. Like Digimon Hanzo will play the same crazy screaming African, but on paper, you see what I'm saying, the way that they deal with him is different. You don't never see him playing no homosexual. You don't never see Idris Elba playing a homosexual. You don't never see the light-skinned nigga, other British nigga or whatever. The British dudes don't play black dudes don't play the homos like that. The American dudes do. So, again, there's a hierarchy, you see what I'm saying, and how they position certain, let's say, African actors, African-American actors, and to the point where Idris Elba got so much respect with these niggas is that he's playing Heimdall, which is an Aryan god in the Thor movie. He's playing the dude who Thor goes in at the end, like when Hulk Hogan went against Zeus. Same type of shit.
Wow.
So they got him playing an Aryan god. You know what I'm saying?
That's they got. Yeah. Well, it's really our shit, but you know,
Yeah, but then if he was if he was like Nick Cannon, they may not have given him that role. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, he would have been like the Greek version of somebody, you know, some, like you said, erotic type.
Yeah, he'd have been like Chris Rock in Fifth Element. I mean, Chris Tucker in Fifth Element. And shit like that. Like you could be with a girl, but you still on some homo shit. You know, like with Training Day. Like people don't realize, like Denzel really got shot in his ass. They really shot him in that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, okay, you ain't gonna play a faggot. Well, if you really, you know, you want to go with the ritual, you're gonna have to go all the way in. They really shot that nigga. Of course they go. They got to give you an Oscar after that. But if you notice, every role that he's played after that has been a deterioration, has been like a detriment. He always dying. Whereas the movies that he got before he was an Oscar, before he got it, he was always like climbing up, you know?
He's either dying or he's like the guy that's here to stay, you know, quote unquote white America, or he's playing like a humble type of, you know. Yes,
like in Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, or even Unbreakable or Unstoppable, whatever the name of that movie was. It's kind of like
the Unstoppable with the Freedom Train. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Something warped and somewhat flawed. Whereas a lot of the earlier characters he was going after and killing the white man, like in Fallen and stuff like that. You know, but regardless of who or what, he's still in it. He's still a warlock in the shit. Like these niggas is warlocks. Him, Will Smith, all of these guys. These guys are practicing warlocks who invoke entities and spirits and shit in themselves, or have been trained to leave themselves open for an habitation of spirits when they play these roles. You know. So, you know, all we gotta look forward now that this whole Bin Laden thing too, now in by 2013 we're gonna get the movie about the Navy SEAL team who killed them, then we'll have like The Rock on it, and then they'll have like Tommy Lee Jones or whoever else in the shit talking about the story to sell it now. Because, it's already bullshit, so now they got to sell it to the people. So it'll be the movie, just like they did the TV movie for the royal wedding, right before the day before they got married.
Damn.
You know what I mean? They got to sell it. So, okay, we'll get the movie, then we'll get the books on what happened, and the Navy SEAL will start to write his own book, and then the nigga who shot him in the dome, allegedly, he'll be the one to start doing the book tour. Then one of these niggas eventually become, run for Senate, and then he'll get in.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's the same. Yeah. Same bullshit, man. Same Jesuit bullshit.
Right, but I mean, I guess the good thing about it is that, like, the more you separate yourself from their version of what they want to call reality, the more it's easier to peep just to peep what they're trying to do. I mean, just by going on the internet and just reading the news headlines, you know what I'm saying? It's a million problems going on with the world, but hey, Lindsay Lohan, is doing a new movie or some shit. It's getting to the point now to where it's like, it's us against them, which it's always been that. But to me, I mean, I just peep the ritual like every opportunity. I don't even think like how I used to think. Because television, you know what I'm saying, if you listen to it, they're telling you visually. You know what I'm saying? It's called programming. So they're programming.
Yeah.
So the more you peep that, I mean, it's like you write your own program. You feel me? You become you become what you always were, you know what I'm saying, like in a sense. And it's those that are here to basically, you know what I'm saying, raise up to the next level, and it's those that were here just to be here, you know what I'm saying, like this is it. But I'm not going to take too much time, man,
like what I'm saying, like with the possession thing, like when you watch The Exorcist and all that type of stuff, right? Like, we are physiologically born different. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, what the commonality that when people talk about, okay, we all come from the same place, okay, that's God, right? So cool. But even in that God space and even in that commonality space, there's still physiological differences that make us more susceptible to certain things or make us less susceptible to certain things. So this whole melanin, cosmic electric melanin thing really is a protection against things like, let's say, outward demon possession. Whereas Caucasoid people who are born in what we would consider white America, they are born in a process of prenatal socialization, meaning that before they even get here, just like us, it's a little different though, but with them on a Terran level, before they even get here, the parent is usually somebody who's already been through some form of ritualistic programming at birth or prior to birth. So when they actually have a baby, you see what I'm saying, there's a part of them that's already open for inhabitation of lesser entities that are focusing themselves at a higher frequency and is downloaded into the person through the traumatic sex ritual in how they procure the birth of the child. So certain Caucasian people, when they're born with this, they have a certain, let's say,
vulnerability,
openness or ability to understand, let's say, the gothic or vampiric or werewolfian, nature or beastly nature of humanity, because that is part of their genetic history. That's not a part of our genetic history like that. We don't have the same thing. Like we're not suffering from things like, let's say, cave trauma or isolation syndrome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're suffering from things more that come to us based on how much of this reality we ingest in ourselves, which then breaks down our natural protection against this stuff, which then, in a sense, allows us to become more caught up in the material aspect of it. So things like money, stuff like that, are the rituals that help break us down spiritually, that allow us to then become open hosts for whatever agenda that we accept, usually to gain some type of power through money or sex. So in that, when we talk about things like possession, when it comes to people like us, when we get possessed, we get what we think are demons are really just dark aspects of, altered aspects of ourselves that we're not comfortable with, that manifest to us as monsters because we haven't fully accepted them into our greater psyche. When they get possessed by whatever non-fourth dimensional physical entity, you see what I'm saying, that they can invoke through whatever satanic ritual that they are injecting into the person. So just because it seems like a random aspect or case of child abuse or serial killing or something like that does not necessarily mean it's an isolated incident. All of this stuff comes or came into existence after the Civil War. There was no serial killers in the world before 1700. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no forensics, no shit that exists right now back then. There was no cancer. Niggas wasn't dying from cancer in the 1700s and all this stuff that they try to make it seem like now. Like these are all new diseases and there was no Tourette's in chemistry. There was no ADD. You know what I'm saying? There's no ADD, bipolar syndrome in Elam or ancient, or the ancient Algonquin culture. Like we wasn't suffering for shit like that. So that means that all of these things that we think that are natural ailments or maladies that we are experiencing are really symptoms of the greater illness that is white supremacy or Western society. You see what I'm saying? Because none of this shit existed until this shit came in. There's no interest. We wasn't charging interest on money. You either had the money to pay or you didn't. If you didn't have the money to pay, then you be my indentured servant until you paid it off. That's it.
Right.
I didn't charge you interest on that. I didn't charge you imaginary money on top of the money that you owe me. If you don't have the money to pay what you owe me, how you going to pay me the interest on what you owe me? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. That was a sin. You know?
Right.
And
right.
It's like we are fostering these elements in our community by not just like finding other ways to deal with stuff. You know what I mean? Like I would love not to accept money for my goods. I would love to accept gold coins or silver, and I do. You know what I mean? But at the same time,
who got all the gold?
Phone company ain't going to accept no gold coins. You know what I'm saying? No matter how shiny and real they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
IRS ain't going. These things ain't going to, rent people. They ain't going to accept a bunch of gold, a bunch of silver doubloons for the rent. They want debt. They want, they want debt. So I got to give them what they want, what they agree to be paid for. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mhm.
But by me doing that or by us doing that does not confer some type of jurisdiction of them over us just because this is the modicum of exchange that we're using to pay.
Exactly.
This just needs to say that this is what these niggas accept, and to keep my lights on right now, this is what I gotta do.
What you gotta do.
But then I'm also in a community of people who are very judgmental. Like people in the conscious community are very judgmental. Not the people, but there is let me not be general. People within the conscious community can be very judgmental. And some people would rather starve, right, than go get food stamps. Knowing damn well that when they was younger, they grew up on the damn food stamp. But now that you're conscious, you see what I'm saying, and you know that the food stamp is connected to the IMF and this and that, you'd rather starve than not eat. And that is crazy.
Yeah, really.
Like that's crazy. That's not real either. That's actually doing the devil's work for it.
Yeah, you're taking yourself out,
Right. You're not using what's there for you. Now, I'm not urging everybody to go get food stamps. I'm just saying that if you own it and you can use your straw man to freak it, then do that. Because that's what the Jews do. That's what the Mexicans do.
Yeah,
that's what the Chinese do. That's what everybody do.
Yeah, they come over here. They don't pay tax, So they freak it the best way they can, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to act like, we're all high and mighty and that, we can accept it, we're this and we that. But You know, at some point
back in the day, I remember going to the food stamp office with my mother, and I would see Jewish bitches in there with mink coats, diamond rings, with their whole family, linked up, locked up, like give me my food stamps, like getting food stamps for everybody. Like, how are they freaking a system like this? And my forefathers are the one that set the whole shit up. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times I think that we can become so metaphysical that sometimes we lose sight of practicality. You know what I mean? And like we get more concerned with what other people are going to think within the community more than what do I need right now? What can help me get where I need to go right now? You know, and until we have something within the community where we can have, let's say, a block somewhere where, God forbid, somebody went homeless and, you know, we have a bunch of buildings where people can stay in, you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly. I mean, we all, you know what I'm saying, up under the same system, you know, that is basically meant to rule. But, you know, being under the system doesn't mean that you have to be, like, a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's right.
So it's at each individual to, I guess, to discern what, I guess, how deep that they're going to go, you know what I'm saying, in it. And some people can, you know what I'm saying, like they can freak it whichever way they can for their benefit and still know that, you know, see what it's for. But it's others that, you know, think that just because, you know what I'm saying, I'm using this dollar or just because I'm filing taxes or whatever, you know, I'm a part of it. You know what I'm saying? But when really,
because remember,
you know, freedom and all that shit is like a state of mind.
Like what you just said, like in filing taxes, like we know, we as conscious people know, I'm not the one filing the taxes.
Right.
The straw man is the one that's doing all of that shit. I'm just the one who's exempt from whatever this thing is about. And they freaked it so easy with this W-2s, W-4s, W-8s that you can fill out, that the way you fill it out shows them that you're exempt from all of their bullshit. And it's on the paper. Like, it's in plain sight. You know, if you are exempt because of such and such and such, if you are exempt because you are the beneficial owner of the said person working a job, then sign, you know, section 1, 3, 5, and 7. So that's what I fill out because this is what it says you're supposed to do and you exempt of it all, but they already know it's established that the straw man is working the job, I'm the one cashing the check, then it's already in law that I'm delineated from that. So I'm not doing that. I don't have no Social Security card. I don't have no passport. I don't have no nothing. Even if I have it, I don't have it because it's not mine. Because if they put me into a court of law and say under oath, is this yours, I could say no. They could polygraph me and I could say no, this is not mine. You created this shit. You created the passport. You created the birth certificate. You created the DMV number. You created the Social Security number. I didn't create that. And you created it at a time when I was an infant. I wasn't even conscious. So my mother and father hooked me up into this, which means that, again, it was done under duress. It was fraud. So of course, I got to use it because I got to eat. But at the same token, you can't make me liable for anything attached to this because you know it's not me. You know it's not me. You can't make me liable to this shit. That's why when Morse tell people got to think. When Morse tell people shit like, okay, you got to rescind your Social Security card, you got to rescind this. How you going to rescind some shit that you didn't create? How you gonna get rid of some shit and say that this is some shit that you had nothing to do with in the creation of, other than the fact you was there and it was created for you? All you can do is become a beneficial owner of it, because whether you do it or not, they still gonna make money off of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because that's what they do it for. But they need me to be the one to sign off on it because it was created for me at the time of my birth to deal with them. So if I release this thing, if I remove the only barrier, the only fictitious barrier that allows me to deal with the fictitious system, then when that's gone, what happens? What they going to deal with? I don't have no recognized nation in the world right now that can back me up with a flag that's already in maritime that got ships attached to it. I don't have that. I don't have a consul right now. I got a bunch of temples, You know what I'm saying? I got a bunch of temples, I got a bunch of orders, I got a bunch of groups. But I don't have no consolidated nation that could actually enforce some shit if some shit happened to me. So what I'm supposed to do to them? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like the practical shit we lose sight of, yo. It's like the certain things that's going on right now because of the fact that we are not, we're not there yet, unfortunately. Some of us are and some of us is not. I should say.
Yeah.
So specifically with the, in summing it up with the documentation and all that other stuff, like that's great. Having your documentation that represents you as a living soul is great and whatever. The straw man stuff is the straw man stuff. But don't feel that if you haven't rescinded it or gotten rid of it or secured it or whatever you want to call it yet, that you somehow still fall under jurisdiction of that, even if they try to make you, because if it's put under scrutiny, they will fall because of the fact that they cannot say, you can always say that it is not yours. I'm just using it because if I don't have it, you'll lock me up. So really, I'm only using this under duress. I'm only here under duress, and anything under duress is null and void. So you got it. So you see what I'm saying? So I don't have to get into what my nationality is, who I am, why you can't do this, get the gold fringe flag up. All that shit is great, but in the end, that's bringing you more and more into business with them. You want to do the less shit to get the most. That's where I'm at with this shit. Like, let's stop. Like, the paperwork really is for us. It ain't even for us, for them. We ain't supposed to be giving them no paperwork. You know what I mean? To keep it real, like, we ain't supposed to be giving them nothing. Am I the only one? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I be able to read this shit and be like, yo, am I the only one that sees this shit? Why are we still sending this nigga paperwork? But hey, that's me. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's us. But again, we represent us. We did it, and we did it. We filed paperwork with them to the point where they was so heated. These niggas put the Department of State posted our paperwork on the site open so anybody could go look at it.
Wow.
And that was from 2002. You know what I'm saying? So then here it is now, 2011. I get a client that comes over who's been going through different brothers in the community's sovereignty package program, so they wanted to bring the stuff to me to overlook it and make sure it was all good. 9 years later, right? I'm looking over this shit. I'm seeing whole chunks of my paperwork in this shit. that I know. Literally word for word, D. Like on some presentation.
Wow. You
know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna say that to this person because it's pretty good. It works. Trust me. Like I know. Like I know. But I'm not gonna, throw stones at this person who they got it from in that sense because I guess it all is working because people, it works. Great. But what I'm also saying is that if we was to more consolidate our overall worldview with how we want to deal with stuff, we could set up these temples as embassies and stuff like that for people of different nationalities who are black, who may not necessarily conscribe to the whole Moorish thing, but conscribe to the whole indigenous, like, okay, I understand the Moorish aspect of my heritage, so I'll use this to represent me politically. But then spiritually, I'm dealing with the Rasta thing, or I'm dealing with the this thing, or whatever. Like Jews, white people do that all the time. But with us, it's like all or nothing, But it's like what you said, brother. It's you watching this shit, and then you seeing how it's all being played out, and then at the same token, know that we have a venue now where we can like laugh about it and know like this shit is bullshit, like.
Yeah, I mean, and I hate to call it funny, but I'm a comical guy, but, like, the shit's funny to me, man. Like, it's sad, but it's funny, like, at this date, like, how they still trying to, like, quote-unquote, play us, you know what I'm saying? Like, when we know what's up, you know. But, hey, I mean, you got to let them do what they do, you know. And
that's it, man.
Know.
Let them run their society how they want. What are we going to do about our shit? That's what I want to do.
Right,
and let them do what they want to do. Like, I'm all for them. Like, I'm all for them running themselves into oblivion. Like, that's what they're supposed to do. I'm just saying, I know that that's not for us, so what are we going to do? So I already know if they still trying to set up pipelines in 2011, allegedly, these people is done. Pipelines and oil, come on. You still using oil as fuel, nigga? Niggas in Antari and Andromeda and Digitaria stop using oil as fuel, you know what I mean, like quadrillions of years ago. These niggas are still done with that? You know what I'm saying? That's how I know any alien dealing with these people, any alien dealing with the present shadow government or the United States government or any Russian, Chinese government is more backwards than them. Because 10 chances to 1, these people got more technology, more ability to flip shit, but you feel you can't do it, so you gotta kowtow and function here how this white man or this white government wants you to function. Like, you more of a slave, the reptilians is more of a slave to these crackers as host bodies than the reptilians than the crackers are to them.
Right, because, you know? I mean, if they was on some other shit, they could have been flipped it up, you know what I'm saying, to where, well, hey, we're going to eliminate, you know, everything, you know what I'm saying. We're not down with that, but, you know, they so into this time trying to bring everybody back to an 80s mind frame with the feudalism and the capitalist, like, America on top shit. They remade V. You know what I mean? And then in watching the new V, it was the same thing, but it was just different. It was more modern in how they dealt with the subterfuge and taking things over. But in the end, the result is the same. These people want to eventually become us, and they're trying to eat our soul. They showed the machine that they use to eat the soul. They showed it on the shit. So, you know, it's good for something, but in the end, they still are working the same thing, and the people get involved in it. My thing is, like, all these people that have functioned on this level for so long, they need to continue to do that. I don't even think people who's not conscious or striving to be conscious now, I don't even think they should try. They should just ride the whole unconscious thing out. Keep that going, because that's what works for you. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. Like, they put this shit in HD now, and it makes it seem like it's more modern, but, like, this shit is, like, actually the opposite of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's more Flintstone. Like I said, man, Brother Dawood told me years ago, he said, yo, nigga, they supposed to been had this New World Order shit hooked up since 45. They supposed to have been flying planes, flying cars without gas and all of that. They came out with the electric car. That shit was too well. They couldn't make no money off of it, so they had to dead that. You see, to the point where they literally went to the last person who had an electric car. You can get the DVD. It's called What Happened to the Electric Car. They went to the last person's house who had one in the country with guns to get the car back. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
wow.
This is what I'm saying. These people are depraved. They're depraved. But again, white folk would rather be behind some depraved white man than a sober-minded black man that's not trying to fuck with them.
You're right,
you know
man.
What I mean?
You're right.
And when I say white folk, I mean anybody that's functioning under the guise that white supremacy is the way to go.
Or benefiting from that shit, you know?
Yes.
Exactly. Like they say, out of darkness came light, and out of blackness came white, you know?
That's what I'm trying to say, man. If light was so dope, then how come it got to escape darkness? If light is the shit, then and that is the ultimate of being, then how come it got to come out? The only way you could see it if it was behind something dark. That means dark is the shit.
And my thing is, it's like the Einstein, like, that shit is still a theory, you know what I'm saying? You know what a theory is. It's not a law. It's just an idea. It's an assumption. So prove that shit to be true to me, you know what I'm saying, and then come back and holler.
They can't. That's what I'm trying to say. They can't even do that. Everything they do is based on the assumption that God is dead. You know, we can chart. We can go from really it was a guy named Orthez. It was a Moor of the Venetian black nobility who was a closet Jesuit, and he perfected a status where he surmised that the world itself could only. This is in like the 1300s. This guy, Orthez. And Orthez, who was a Venetian of the black nobility, basically put out there that the world could only sustain 3 billion people, right? So in the late 1700s, here comes Malthus, who basically copied what Orthez said, and then basically put it out there that, the world could only. He basically tried to more expound and make it more functional. But when Orthez was talking about it, he was talking about it based on the ascendancy of the Venetian black nobility, as that was still at the time somewhat Moorish, as the occupying progenitor family of all of the world monarchies. You see what I'm saying? So he wasn't really talking about it from the perspective of like the world itself. He was more talking about the world as it related to Venice and the Venetian Moriscos, who were able to set up their thing, So Malthus comes, who is now funded by the so-called robber baron, who had descended from those Caucasian so-called Jewish families that fought as mercenaries in the wars that we fought against each other. And now that the wars were done, they were raised up to the level of nobility, and they bonded together to then depose the ancient monarchs who elevated them to that position, because the ancient monarchs had forsaken their ancient history for sake of a modern Masonic history. You know what I'm saying? So these guys basically hook up and say, okay, well, we're going to create a world in which we are now the dominant part, because everybody else in the world has been ascended except us. So we then, based upon the fact that we helped them, allowed them to establish the Catholic Church, which was a recluse organization where they could have gods made in their own image for the first time in their history. Because up until then, they had been worshiping us. You see what I'm saying? As God. Now they had a God in their own image that they were supposed to give to their people as the veneration God that they deal with. But instead, what they decided to do was use that image as a means to dominate the people who gave them the right to have a God in that image. And in that, because the Masonic Moors, again, decided that they were, that these guys were royalty now because they raised them up. They freed them and accepted them into their family. They had to accept them on an equal basis, which reduced the level of nobility of the Masonic Moors and elevated the nobility, the royalty of the so-called Freemasonic slaves. You see what I'm saying? Or free and accepted Masons who were okay.
Right.
And then all of those guys decide that they're going to work together to then perpetually keep the secret and not give it back to those of us that only come in the right name to make it manifest that we did that. So when Woodrow Ali manifested, it was obvious that the time had come, which is why Woodrow Wilson would give him the flag, and which is why he would be given the land patent or the mandate over the Americas at the Pan-African Conference of 1928. But he was assassinated the year after by the Fraternal Order of Police. You see what I'm saying? Which then threw the Moorish movement, based upon the infiltration of the FBI, into a disarray. And it has been ever since. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So essentially, we're dealing with the same people we was dealing with back then. And nothing has really changed other than the time, the dress, you know what I'm saying? But even that, these niggas still dress in the old medieval garb of the Renaissance period. They showed you that in the wedding.
Like the wedding, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we ain't really leave nowhere. We still in the 1800s. We still in the 1700s. We still there because we gotta be there because these people can't move up a genetic ladder without us. So, because we like, TV and stuff like that, this thing is going on a little longer than it was supposed to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thank you for that, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, man, I appreciate you taking the call, and I'm not trying to take up all the time tonight, but just want to send my, vibrations out to your fam, you, Selena, Prince Amore, and the whole, Super Heru family. We all on the same frequency, so wherever we need to go, we all gonna get that together. You know what I mean?
Indeed. And you're right, WRJ1. They are still beasts. They always gonna be that. However, I'm not. If the one thing we can do in this world, we can control ourselves. If we can't control nothing else, we can control us. You know what I mean? So if we can control us in a form where we can do things that does not include them, those are the best things for us to do. Yet, if we don't include them, you have to understand there's a Negro mentality, even in the conscious community, where people accept Caucasoid people into it without any scrutiny or asking where they come from or anything. I've witnessed it. You know what I mean? Niggas be very accommodating. And I'm not saying you just target people because they're Caucasian. I'm saying we don't have a scrutinized version to vet it people the way that the beasts do to find out who's who.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's causing shit up, because we can't trust each other. We're not going to be able to sit down and trust each other if we can't figure out who the rat is or who the moles are.
Mm-hmm. You're right, brother.
Anything
You're right.
That down will fail if you let these Judases in. But we gotta admit that this thing is real. And in that, the people, not other lecturers and stuff like that, the people gotta start calling people out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, not nobody from that's known doing it, whatever. If you see some things that's not necessarily adding up, holler at that man directly. If he don't holler at you back, then you don't have no other choice, and you've exhausted all means to contact this man. Then you bring it to the public. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but a lot of people, you call them, they don't call you back. He's hollering at you back because they don't want to talk to you. Then you'll find out that they don't know what the fuck they talking about. But with that, I want to say thank you, brother. Harlem, just definitely going in.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, y'all. Just be easy, you know what I'm saying, and just stick with it, man. We on the right path.
Thank you, my brother. Be safe.
You too.
Peace. Peace on Super Heru Radio.
Hello?
Peace. What's up, bro?
Peace. This me?
Yep, that's you, bro. 757.
Oh, man, this is crazy, yo. Hey, I've been listening to your show, man, probably about a year now, man. I started building on metaphysics and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? But, like, for real, man, it's crazy, like, me being on the phone, for real. That's for real, man. You done put me on to a whole lot of knowledge, man. A whole lot of knowledge. Like, this is enough to last me the rest of my life, for real, man. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Ken.
And it's just crazy us talking on the phone together, like, for real. You know what I mean? Because I look at you like, you know what I'm saying, one of these niggas on TV, you know what I'm saying? For real.
No doubt. I appreciate that.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
I just wanted to, I had a little question, you know what I'm saying, and I just wanted to pay homage to you too, man, for real. Because for real, you really helping a lot of people out.
For a year, you know?
Yeah, you really helping a lot of people out with this information, man. But I don't even know how you do it, man, like, for real, because you be building on a lot of stuff, yo, for real. And I be trying to build on knowledge, too. And that junk just be, it be overwhelming sometimes, man.
Well, the key to it is to build on it from a perspective of you actually seeing a beneficial change in your life for the better. Not necessarily about reaching anybody else's level of understanding, but more the highest level of your understanding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because in that, then you'll help people like me, because you may peep shit that even I won't see. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I by no means ever want to make it seem to you or anybody else like I really know it all, because I don't. What I do know is what it is I pursued and left myself open to find out, and that's what I share. And in the process of that, in me building with you and you building with me, I get sparked to even more connections, you know what I'm saying, to be able to bring it full circle, so that way you then can do the same thing, you know what I mean? So when you rocking with us for a year, like you're part of the reason, you as well as the rest of the greater Super Heru family is the reason why we can be on it like that. You know what I mean? Because you was like, okay, there's things within what he's saying that I can understand and relate to and see as real. And in that, now this becomes the consciousness that we foster and nurture together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Without me trying to get you to, join this thing, to come here and devote X amount of time to do this, to do that. Like, the time will come when that is real, when we need to do that. But before we can even do that, we got to at least get some type of dialogue where we can at least know how each other think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
but,
man.
Niggas be snitching, man.
Yo, but, like, this shit is real crazy, man. Cause, I've been listening to you, like, ever since I first started building on, like, metaphysics and higher knowledge and whatnot. I had seen you on the YouTube and shit. And then, like, I just started listening to you on Blog Talk and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And this thing has really helped me. Cause it's crazy, just living like this. But I had a question, man, because you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to better myself and everything. You know what I'm saying, and trying to eat better and stuff. I already stopped eating pork and whatnot. You know what I'm saying. But I still be like, I smoke. You know what I'm saying, and I drink too. You know what I'm saying, and I wanted to know like your thoughts on that. You know what I'm saying, as far as like how to go about that, whether or not, because for real, like, just living like day to day, man, and this reality is really frustrating and stressful. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just a regular nigga, you know what I mean, in Virginia, that's just trying to, you know what I mean, get through the regular days with all of these bullshit ass white people and everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to know what you feel about like drugs and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Mhm. I think the main thing to do is to, first of all, look around your room or wherever you sleep or wherever you consider yourself home or whatever. And this is for everybody. Look around your whole crib, man, and look to find what shouldn't be there.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of times our discontent comes from our own environment that we help create. And that keeps us from looking at the greater picture, because there's this thing that's around us every day that we're not really conscious of that is bringing us down. And the reason why it's there, because we put it there to do that, to see if we can get to the point in our consciousness to realize that we don't need to do things like that to ourselves. You understand? Like, the subconscious mind exists parallel to the conscious mind. So when you consciously think of something, you're subconsciously thinking about it too.
Yeah, yeah.
And the subconscious mind has to have a form of physical expression the same way that the conscious mind does. This is what leads to people when they have blackouts and they have missing time and shit. This is when the subconscious mind becomes the part that takes over the operative function. So once you do that, then, begin to work to not take things personal or too personal in your life, those things that are really just, if it's not dealing with your immediate life or death or the immediate life or death of your family, then it's not something that should be taken so serious to the point that you would do something that might lead to a situation like that, losing your life or losing something valuable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, certain arguments don't even need to be had. Sometimes you need to let assholes just be assholes.
Yeah.
Let them talk shit. Sometimes men need to be heard and women need to be quiet and hear them. Just like sometimes women need to be heard and men need to be quiet and hear them. Sometimes, like, a man always know what he upset about, but what he'll do is deny it. Women sometimes don't even know what they're really upset about. Sometimes they just need to just go through it and just be angry about some little shit, and then it escalates into what the real problem is. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, that's true.
You think that we as men would figure that out yet, but we don't really know our woman, and she don't really know us anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like marriage is a lifelong lesson. You know what I mean? So relationships is the same way. Like, just because you know this person for a year, that don't mean you know this person. Just because you know this person for 11 years, 12 years, 13 years, 25 years, that don't mean you know that person. There are some authors of personalities that are very deep that come out at a certain time later. And you think you with a whole different person. It happened to me. You know what I'm saying? With my first son's mother. You know what I mean? One day this person was somebody totally different. I didn't know who this person was. She was telling me shit she was doing. I was like, when did this happen? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I was there when it was happening. But I didn't know that because this person didn't present that to me. And me, being a naive Aries and young at the time, is thinking that, hey, how I treat this person is how this person is going to treat me. And that's not how the world works. You know what I'm saying? That's a fantasy. The physical world don't work like that. All you can do is be the best person you can be. And that's it. Right?
Yeah, man. I'm an Aries too, man.
Yes, but you already know. So really with you, your main thing is really don't take things personal. Don't get caught up in the negative aspects of how your mom's is. You know what I'm saying? Just allow her to be her and not try to build with anybody that's not really on it like this. Build with people on the level they at. And if they show you that they on the level they handle some real talk about some real shit like this, then you build with them on that. But only do that if they present that to you. Because you go through the phase where you get the knowledge and then you be real happy and then you get real mad because you know how everybody's been lying and has lied to you all these years. Then you will go through the phase where you want to put people on. Then, like, you put certain people on, they really hype, but then they lose interest. Then your family turn against you.
Yo,
then once your family
that's what's going on right now, man. Because I've been building. I've been building. I'm only like 23. You know what I'm saying? So I've been conscious probably for about like 2 years. You know what I mean? As far as from like listening to you and just reading books and whatnot. You know what I mean? But I've been trying to build with some of my homeboys on higher knowledge for real. And I mean, some of them are getting it, but I don't know if I should just keep building with them on it or just let them start doing their own research to it. Because I do my research like faithfully. I buy books, go on the internet, do it, and listen to Blog Talk. You know what I'm saying? And check you out like every Monday and Friday. You know what I mean?
Indeed. No, that's all you can do is be the best person you can be, the best sovereign that you can be. That's all you can do. So what anybody else do is up to them. So all you can do is provide the inspiration and be the example of that. It's not your job. The Christ era is done in the Pisces. That's gone. The new era is that Christ knows what he knows enough not to feel the need to go out here preaching to everybody about what it is. You either know and you want to do it or you don't. There's no in between. You know, you're not a little conscious. You either are or you aren't. So if those people don't provide a place in their life to nurture this, then that's on them. And it's not a judgment, and it's not to say they're going to hell or anything else. They're going to get what they get, but they can never say that they didn't know. You understand? So that's the purpose that you represent. That's the purpose you represent in their life. And that's all you can do. So you're not there to be nobody's Christ. You're not there to be put on the cross for nobody else. There's a bunch of different people who's willing to be that right now. So let them be that. Let them be the Christ and the title of whatever it is to be the one that's doing it. Your job is to safeguard yourself till you get to the point in your life where you are set to do what you're supposed to do. So that's why I say don't take it personal or look at like something's wrong with them. It's not about them. It's about you. And in being about you, it becomes about them because you only want what's best for them. You understand?
Yeah.
However, they are born here, and you don't know if they incarnated here to be ignorant. You don't know if they incarnated here to be against this knowledge. You don't know.
Yeah,
so you can't assume. So all you can do is be there for them, but not cast your pearls for swine and not give energy to shit that don't exist. If they're not showing a genuine need to keep it up, then don't build on it. Build about bullshit with them and keep it on that level with them. And if they prove they want to do that, then build with them on that level. But don't be the only one in the crew with the knowledge because they turn against you. I learned that the hard way. You know what I mean? They turn against you because they're envious. They can either be grateful that you're building with them or envious. Most people are envious.
Yeah.
And that's not a judgment on them to say they whack or this or that. That's just to say that that's their character.
Yeah.
So again, don't take nothing personal. Do your knowledge. Share with those people who's ready to share up. Focus on the type of woman that you want for yourself. And cultivate the energy by not sullying yourself or defiling yourself with frivolous sex with somebody that's probably just sent to you spiritually or literally to throw you off from where you're supposed to go. Because once you say, okay, I'm not going to have sex with some dumb chick, that's when all the dumb chicks come around and have sex. Just like soon as you get into a relationship, that's when all the girls that didn't want to have nothing more to do with you, they start messing with you again.
Yeah.
And people are sick, man. So stay away from the sickness and you'll be good. But thanks for the call, man, and thank you for being with us for this long, you know what I mean? You could always email me at houseofl@hotmail.com if you ever, want to know something or whatever.
All right, man. Hey, I definitely appreciate the phone call and whatnot, man. Like I said, man, I've been listening to you for a while, and this definitely be keeping me going, man, just to hear brothers like you, you know what I'm saying, build on higher knowledge, because it be, you know what I'm saying, stressful just dealing with this everyday life, man, and not getting no real information from anybody.
Well, like I said, that means that you just got to work and look to yourself for the real information and disseminate the bullshit and separate it from the real and integrate the real, which is taking the best part for yourself and not caring about the poor part. And by not taking things personally, you don't allow your ego to get you involved in relationships and situations in which you should be indifferent to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, so holler at me.
All right, man. Appreciate it, bro.
All right, my brother. Be safe, man, and be well. Blessings to you and yours.
Yeah, peace to your queen, man. Yes, sir, man.
Thank you, bro. Peace. Peace. You on Superhero Radio? 334. Yeah. Can you hear me? 334. Peace. 832. Miss Superhero Radio.
Hello.
Peace, Queen. How you doing? Peace,
Fine.
Queen.
How you doing?
I'm well, man.
Good. I had a question. My husband and I, we were outside today doing a little work in the backyard, and we look up at the sun, and we see a halo around the sun. And I looked it up online, and I know that there are some natural occurring halos, but I also saw that the chemtrails can cause the halos. And I was just wondering, what's your partake on that?
The halos themselves are apparitions in the sense that they're like visual phenomena that are there but are not there. But at the same time, they're also evidence that the sun itself is becoming more electromagnetically charged.
Okay.
So what this means is that the second sun that they keep talking about, which is an aspect of what people want to refer to as Nibiru, but which is also a magnetically charged sun, is basically becoming more and more prevalent in this sun's what they call heliofield, which is the aura around the so-called sun that we see in the sky. But again, the sun that we see in the sky is a holographic projection of a negative sun that exists in the same space. Because when you go into space, you don't see the sun.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You only see the sun when you're on Earth.
Right.
As you know, as a real phenomenon, you can feel it. So that means that this space that we occupy, this halo that you see around your sun, is a representation that our so-called reality is becoming more and more based in a definite space, because we're moving from a third density into a fourth density. You know what I'm saying? These are some of the physical phenomena or effects of that, such as the raising of the pyramid that's under Japan, which also was used to bring about the tsunami. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of these type of effects of like old things from ancient times becoming more prevalent. This is the astrological time for these things to happen. So what you saw today is just a physical representation, kind of like a rainbow, to show that there's a different spectrum of light and time that is working simultaneously with this one.
Right. It was pretty crazy because I had never seen that myself, and I look at the sky very often. And when he told me to look up there and I saw that, I was like, wow, what is this? I mean, it was just really crazy looking. I mean, I when I saw the pictures online, I was like, wow, I can't believe, I've been on this earth almost 30 years and, never seen this before. So it was I had to call in and ask you that. But I wanted to tell you thank you. We love listening to you and your queen. And my husband had a question he wanted to ask.
Cool.
Peace, King.
Peace, King. How are you, brother?
I'm good. Hotel.
All right.
Hey, I've been following you for a minute, God. So I know that you say you're Aries. I'm also myself. And you also born only 3 days before me. So with that being said, my life path number, I was checking myself out, is a master number 11. And I can see that's one of the reasons why I know I'm like mad spiritual. So you basically studying you and other brothers like Brother Phil and the other blood and them, y'all help me understand why I think the way I think and what I'm going through. And so with that being said, like the guy you were just talking to with the other question, I'm experiencing that in myself, like finding myself alone a lot and people basically fading away. So my question was, like me, being an original man, being an Aries, with the life path that I have, like what should I be doing or what we as a people should be doing at this time?
That's a great question, brother, and thank you for sharing that because a lot of people are feeling that right now. And astrologically, what's going on is now that we've entered Taurus, the new moon that just passed is at Taurus at 13 degrees. So that could be seen as like somebody carrying baggage, or in Greek mythology, this would be represented by Sisyphus, the guy who pushes the stone up the hill, and then once he gets to the top of the hill, it rolls back over him and rolls back down, and every day he's got to do the same thing. It's reminiscent of that energy and the energy of Prometheus, who is bound to the rock, who at the end of every day his guts get ate out by the vulture, and then during the night it heals, and then the next day the same thing happens. This is all reminiscent of this energy of Taurus and 13 degrees, because it's about like carrying other people's baggage or other people's approval. You know what I'm saying? But what this also means is that you are the person in your family who is the most spiritual, because all of the family is using you as the pariah or the Christ to put their negativity on. So anybody listening is the Christ in their family when they are the ones who think like this, who are basically shat upon by the people who taught them, in a sense, how to be like this. That's what's so ironic about the whole situation. But
wow, that hit home right there.
You know, but that's what also makes the situation a God situation, because only God can create something positive out of that, which is your consciousness and your understanding of the truer nature of it, which is not what the family has chosen to adopt based upon the family stagnation. So the true family that we are a part of are those of us who think like this, for real, not those of us who act like they think like this, not those of us who look like they think like this, not those of us who act and look like they think like this and seem like they're like this all the time, but those of us that are really like this. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference. And that difference is the difference between the 2% and the 98% of brain access that we are denied at this stage based upon, you know what I'm saying, our lack of compassion when it comes to the spirit realm. We only deal with the spirit realm, well, not us, but most people only deal with the spirit realm when they feel they should get something, or they don't want something to happen. Very few of us go out there and get candles and maintain altars and put water and make food and all of that for these things that we perceive as altars and stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the karmic condition of this so-called astrological period, with the moon at Taurus at 13, is also like a feeling of like you're almost looking at yourself live your life as you're living it. Like there's times where you feel like you could just like not be here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could be somewhere else, but like not somewhere else, not even somewhere else on the planet, but like just somewhere else. Like you just look at what's going on and you see through the hypocrisy of like this whole Bin Laden and all this stuff, where you just see, wow, this person is literally lying to everyone in the world and is going to the place where this ritual happened and is embodying it like the ritual that put this dude in the mind of everybody as if he was the mastermind in some cave somewhere that could get NORAD and the Pentagon and the Boeing 747 will all coincide to crash into these buildings. Like, this dude really had this power. He's allegedly been dead since 2002, 2001.
Man, it's crazy you say that because, like, I be peeping that shit out and I be seeing through the bullshit, and it's like, when I tell the fam and tell people in my inner circle, like, it's just something in me where I just gotta get it out. I be seeing it and I be trying to explain it and put it down to other people. It's like I be speaking to a brick wall.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, save that for your queen, your seeds, those people who show themselves that they want to build on that. The less you say about what's going on, the more they're going to want to know what you think about it. That's the crazy shit. The more you tell them what you think about it, the more they don't want to hear it. That's how backwards.
Man, that's ill, yo.
This is how mundane and asinine this limited form of communication has become. To the point that anything that you say directly to a person, they will not hear. But if you talk about them through somebody, they'll hear about it. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, this is the level of disconnect. So we can't exist in a world like that. So the Creator didn't bring us this far to leave us here. So there has to be a place for people like us to be able to understand this and build on this on that level. So I know it can't be this place. So the place will have to be revealed for us to be able to go to. You understand what I'm saying? Whether it's here or in the next world or whatever the hell it's going to be. But whatever it's going to be, it's not going to be this. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's crazy, man. Another question, too, I had one more before I let you go. I know you got other people, but I be having these dreams, man. It be hard for me to decipher. And it's just like a few of them I done had where the world was ending and shit, and always like a big ball or like a earth object or something, or the sun coming closer. Or it's like I'm trying to decipher a message in the dream, but it's like when I wake up trying to recall it, it'd be hard for me to recall.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, like, if you had any feedback on that.
Day? Was it in the day or the night?
It been day.
In the day, so that's the right brain. So that's something that may actually happen. So was it a feeling in which you saw yourself there, or you saw it all happening?
I saw myself there. Like,
in the middle of it.
It was both situations at times.
Right. Okay. So you were there but not there. So that's great. So essentially, was this a place that we would say was on the East Coast or the West Coast?
That is always, like, I don't know why I find myself always. I'm from New Orleans, and, I went through the Katrina aspect, but it's like I always find myself going back there in my dreams. It always takes place at my hometown.
Well, the Katrina people are similar to the people who first left Kemet. In the sense that when you read the Bible, you watch the Ten Commandments, this first so-called Israelites or Hebrews that left and traveled across, and then they went through the water, and then the water was receded, and then when the Kemites tried to go get them, the water came and crashed in and washed them away. You basically are, in your life cycle, or the people from Katrina have gone through that life experience of the flood since probably before the time of Gilgamesh, in terms of the great flood. You know what I'm saying? So there's an aspect of you that always feels like real comfortable around water, who always is in a situation where you're trying to resolve a situation more than let the situation escalate. You get taken advantage of people who you've helped, that you've known for a long time, but then people that you don't know, that you've kind of just been cool with, have been more respectful and honorable to you than people like you've known for your whole life and shit. But that is the experience of people from your cycle of Moors who have gone through this system. So in this period, for whatever reason, you reach the level of consciousness that you have attained a certain understanding that is best given to those people who really deserve it more than those people who don't. So much happier if you stop talking to those people, stop wasting your energy or Captain Pearls or swine, and allow those people to figure out for themselves and just do you. And if they want to talk Bunchinche and whatever else about, what Rihanna's wearing or whatever, build with them on that. But don't take it to the level where they would have to start reaching up. You know what I mean? Because that would then mean that they would then have to submit to the fact that they have been dishonorable in not accepting this knowledge from you. And it's an unspoken thing with us, with black people, with respect, where we're quick to want respect, but then disrespect each other. You know what I mean? But on some sly shit. You know what I mean? On some, get everybody down with it, and then let's all shit on them. You know what I mean? The white people, they just shit on each other from the door. They just oh, he's whack, he's a nerd, he's this, he's that. You know what I mean? They automatically chastise themselves, whereas we try to get other people down with it. And that's because we know we're not supposed to really be on that. So misery like company. So we fall into the Venus aspect of it. You know what I mean? Manifested in this new moon saying. So basically I'm saying just do you. Don't get too involved with what they perceive or might want to be. And, build with those people who's supposed to get it.
Right. That's what's up.
All right. So, blessings to you and your queen, man. Thanks for calling in.
You peace, King. Bless to your queen and your young prince, man. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. Appreciate it.
You as well, King. Speak again.
Okay, King.
Peace. So, yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in and being here with us. I appreciate it. You can check out some of the new stuff we put up on the site, www.aseertheducateers.com. We still have a couple of slots for the class that we have going on called The Truth About Sexual Alchemy, The Rite of Eros and Euless, and The Fetus of God, which is pretty deep and it's pretty involved in terms of sex being used as a means of time manipulation and how to safeguard yourself from succubi and incubi and stuff like that. But you can holler at me at houseofl@hotmail.com. Thank you for all the donations to the Dark Skull 418 Fund. We're going to get that popping. We're going to have more announcements on that soon. Please check out www.sagassad.com and also check out www.aseertheducateers.com, as well as you can email me directly at houseofl@hotmail.com. That's HOUSEOFEL @hotmail.com.